Need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call to quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve, stress, shit on my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no giving. Some days I don't hit, I don't slay. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. They don't wanna when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need to brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem. I ain't perfect. Let them watch me elevating. Got them nuts. Cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the option. Woo! Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Watch how I get ahead. Woo!
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my final thoughts for UFC Vegas 61. Going to be talking about the weigh-ins, going to be talking about some bets, got 10 units on the line, and going to be talking about some Draftkings as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty solid card, honestly. As you guys can tell, I am in the bathroom. I don't know if you guys can see it. And the reason I am in the bathroom is because this card is actually some shit. I mean, look at some of the names on this card. I mean, this is it's not the best card in the world, but you know, like I've been saying all week, we have fights. We have fights on Saturday, no matter how the card is. I'm looking forward to it each and every time. We did not have UFC last week. It sucked. We're not going to have UFC next week. It's going to suck. So although I don't think that's the most name value on this card, I think it's going to play out, honestly, pretty good. I think a lot of these matchups stylistically will be fun. Like the Silva Ronson fight is going to be awesome. The Costa Kinety fight to kick off the card. We have the Castaneda Santos fight. It's going to be fun. Like there's some fun fights on this card, but yeah, from a name value standpoint, it's not really that much there. Next card, which is in 2 weeks, is not much better, but we get rewarded with like UFC 280 October. I think it's October 22nd. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, this card, maybe not the best card in the world, but we can always find some spots to make some money on DraftKings from a betting perspective. So always looking forward to that. Before we get started, guys, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Got out my DraftKings video, the full card breakdown, that's out. My betting breakdown video will be out shortly later this evening, and then I'll be going live tomorrow for Best Bet. Not sure what time yet. I'm thinking maybe 1 hour prior to the prelims, so like around 3. So make sure you guys are subscribed so I don't miss out on that as well. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the Numbers. There, my DMs are open if you guys have any questions. But I think it's time to shout out the chat. We got Propaholic, first one in here. What is up, Propaholic? Saying it's almost fight now. Yes, sir. Cannot wait. Coming up pretty soon. We got Eric in here. I think this will be one of those cards without a great name value, but end up with great fights. That's exactly how I feel, Eric. Good luck, everyone, and appreciate your grind. Thank you, Eric, for hanging out. We got Bill. Help us win some mullah. That is the goal. We got J-Dog in the chat. We got Mushroom winning some violence. One more sleep. Yes, sir. We got Tyler. Let's go, Brady. We got Sean. Let's go, Brady. Let's go, guys. We got Tony saying, what's up, Brady? Loving this card, especially since there isn't one next week. Yeah, we got to enjoy it. No card next week, but we do have some really good cards coming up, so looking forward to that. What if Costa and Kinety pull a double KO 60 seconds in because they're both already out of gas? That can definitely happen. We'll definitely find out. Mushroom saying Kinety round 2. Yeah, I cannot wait to talk about that fight. Gut feeling is Costa knocks him out round 1 and scores over 100 on DK. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well. It's that time of the weekend. Let's get it. Let's get it. Julia submission first round 750. There you go. I like that. This card isn't the greatest, but we might have some sleeper hits. Absolutely. I think there are some very good sleeper fights. Let's see if I missed anything. Let's stack tickets like layers of TP. That is the goal. We got Andre saying, hello, Brady. Good to be on your show once again. What is up? How you doing? And where will Brady be broadcasting from next time? It could be anywhere. We'll have to find out. We got Jan in the chat. We got Man Cave. What is up, guys? And then Alex is in love with Jessica Penne. Yeah, that fight is off, unfortunately. So you're not going to get to watch Jessica Penne. And then SYCO 546 saying, let's go, Randy Brown. I agree. All right. Smash the like if you guys have not already. We're going to be getting into these fights, and we'll start with the first fight of the card, which is my second favorite card, or second favorite fight on the entire card, and we're kicking it off with it. We have Randy Costa going against Guido Kinety. Randy Costa is minus 300. Guido Kinety is plus 250. From a money line standpoint, no. Why would I lay minus 300 on Randy Costa? The guy has 9 fights. He is 6-0 in fights that have went under 1/2 of a round. That's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. The guy is 0-3 in fights that have went over 1/2 of a round. So it's safe to say if this fight goes over 1/2 of a round, there's a good chance you are going to be sweating bullets with that price tag. So yeah, don't leave minus 300 on Randy Costa. Should Costa go out there and starch Guido Kinety in the first couple minutes? Absolutely. Kinety, 42-year-old at bantamweight. Costa should finish this guy. But if this fight gets extended, like, it's going to get very sketchy. Like, Costa, the dude just falls off a cliff. The dude has nothing left in that second round. And although I don't think Kinety has the best gas tank in his own right, at least we have seen Kinety go and have success in his second round and in the third round before. So until Randy Costa can show me that he can go into the second and third round and have success, I cannot lay this price tag of minus 300 on him. But what I can do is bet some violence here, and that's exactly what I did, and that is exactly what most people are doing, and rightfully so. I think the under 1.5 is a good look, especially if you got it earlier in the week. It has been hit a little bit since then. But I do have the fight doesn't go to decision as a parlay piece. I have one parlay on this card. It's my biggest play of the night as a parlay, and I put my 2 favorite spots on the card together, and this is my first favorite spot. I like the fight doesn't go to decision. Randy Costa has never been to a decision. He's never been over 2.5. He's never been to the third round. He only went over 1.5 rounds just once in his career. And Guido Kinety has had 10 of his fights finish in the very first round as well. So both these guys are highly capable of finishing early, and both these guys are highly capable of getting finished. I think the fight doesn't go as a parlay piece makes a ton of sense. We'll talk about my other parlay piece in a second later down the card, but kicking off the night with the fight doesn't go in a parlay piece there. As far as the DraftKings goes, I think this is a very good fight to target. It is my highest exposed fight. I have a ton of Randy Costa, and that's just because you can't ignore the upside. Like, if he wins, it's going to be in the first couple minutes of the fight. He's even live for that 60-second bonus as well. He should go out there and win the fight. But if this fight does get extended, you're going to want to have some Kinety at 7,000. So although I do have a ton of Costa, he's my highest exposed fighter, I also have a good amount of Kinety, and I will be overweight to Kinety as well. Just because if this fight does get extended, he will be super live, even at 42 years old. So from a DraftKings perspective, I love this fight. From a betting perspective, I love this fight. From a violence perspective, and then I love this fight from a fan perspective as well. So first fight of the card, really looking forward to this one. The pick will be Costa to win by first round finish. If you guys are into that live betting, perfect live betting spot. Like, if Costa does not finish Kinety in round 1, maybe you get a good price on Kinety round 2, but I will say Costa finishes him in the very first round there. Let's go, Brady. Let's bring home the bread. Let's get it. 2 gassers. One of them is old as dirt. Fight doesn't go to decision, right there with you. I think fight doesn't go as a good look. See here. I've taken a contrarian bet on Guido. I can't fault you for that. Like, I would rather take the dog shot on Guido than laying minus 300 on Randy Costa. So yeah, Guido, dog shot. I mean, I can't hate anybody for taking that. Have a 1.15 unit bet on the under 1.5 at minus 115. My goodness, that is a crazy line. It is the best line out there by a mile. Again, now it's like minus 175. I think best price out there. So yeah, you did your job, and I do agree with that. That play and that price. Yeah, minus 115 is nuts. Agree, no chance this fight goes the distance. I mean, it could, but I think it's highly unlikely. Ronson, I like the unders here. I'm right there with you. Another parlay piece for your parlay is definitely under in the Ronson Silva fight. I do have violence there, but that's not the parlay piece, but I do like that. Grisham money line minus 155. Yeah, Matt, you beat some line movement there. We'll talk about that one. Good job. Randy Costa under 1.5 is minus 150. Is it still minus 150? I see like minus 175, best price out there on Bet Online, I think. But yeah, if you can get minus 150, I don't hate that. All right, guys, we'll keep moving on. Cannot wait for that fight. And I can't wait for this fight as well. I know it's like super low level, but this fight's going to be fun. Like, both these fighters just bring it. Chelsea Chandler, Julia Stoliarenko. And I was pretty impressed with Chelsea Chandler. Obviously, she has not fought the best competition at all, It's a big step up in competition for Chelsea Chandler, but went and watched all of her fights, and in pretty much every fight, she is, dropping these girls like really hard. I had to have saw like 4 or 5 knockdowns from Chelsea Chandler in the limited tape I watched of her. So she has super heavy hands. So on the feet, Julia Stoliarenko is a punching bag, 44% strike and defense. I could definitely see Chandler hurting Stoliarenko, potentially knocking her out. But the problem with Chandler and her fights are, you go and watch all of her fights, all of them are hitting the mat. And she's a good grappler in her own right, but Julia Stoliarenko is good at one thing and one thing only, and that one thing is the grappling. 90% finish rate for Stoliarenko, all those coming by submission. I believe all those coming by armbar. Like, if Stoliarenko is able to get on top of Chelsea Chandler, the fight could be over shortly after. And if Chelsea Chandler gets on top of Stoliarenko is definitely live off of her back to find that submission. She's super dangerous and super aggressive on the mat there. So as far as making a pick, I do think this fight hits the mat at some point, whether it's Stoliarenko, she showed off some wrestling in her last fight, getting the fight down to the mat, or it's Chelsea Chandler maybe taking Stoliarenko to the mat, maybe dropping her and going down to the mat that way. I think eventually this fight hits the mat one way or another, and Stoliarenko does find that sub. But from a betting perspective, I do like violence here as well, because Chelsea Chandler, she hits like a truck. Like, I was extremely impressed with the power, and Stoliarenko blocks punches with her face. That is not a good combination. And on top of that, if Stoliarenko wins, there's no other way she wins other than a submission. She's not going to go out there and win minutes. She's not going to go out there and knock out Chandler. If she wins, it's going to be by sub. So I took a half unit shot on the fight doesn't go. Plus 130. That line is still there. I bet that like on Monday or Tuesday. And that line has not moved at all. And then a lot of people are taking the shot on the Stoliarenko sub, and I think that's a great look, because Stoliarenko's win condition is a sub and nothing else. So if you can get the sub for Stoliarenko around that plus 300 range, I don't mind that at all. FanDuel had that at plus 340 last night. Was planning on betting that, but that did get hit, and it's now like plus 290, something like that, which is still a good look. But I just like violence here. I think somebody's getting finished, whether it's a Chandler knockout, which I think is definitely on the table, and then I think what's more so on the table is that Stoliarenko sub. So the fight doesn't go, half a unit plus 130. From a DraftKings perspective, I think this is a very important fight to target, because like I said, Chandler, the knockout upside, lots of power. And then Stoliarenko, if she wins, it's going to be by sub. So again, I like this fight from a betting perspective with the violence. I like this fight from a DraftKings perspective. And then I like this fight from a fan perspective as well. Although not the highest level fight by any means, it's going to be a very, very fun fight. So yeah, really liking the first 2 fights of the card from a viewing standpoint. Stoliarenko is a slam dunk play on DraftKings. Yeah, it certainly could look like it. How big is that chance for Stoli to get a sub? I don't think it is another sub win for her. She's going to have opportunity. She's going to have a ton of opportunity. That's all she's good at. If she does not get the sub, she's going to get beat up bad and probably finished. Not a bad card, in my opinion, for the real fight fans, and I agree. I think name value, like I said, is not there, but it's going to be a fun card. Chandler looked big, but not long-term good fighter. Yeah, I think she's just still unproven. Like, she's fought nobody. So we'll have to see how good she really is, but she's looking good against these lower level fighters. The under 2.5 is looking pretty good. Might break my rule against unders, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't mind the under 2.5. Earlier in the week, the under 2.5 opened up at something crazy. I think it was like plus 200. The under 2.5 opened up on Bet Online. Missed out on it, but yeah, if anybody got that, my goodness. Is there any fight you would stack in cash? No. I mean, usually if I'm stacking, it would be in cash, but nothing this week really sticking out. It's a 12-fight card. I don't think the stack's going to be optimal this week. Chandler keeps hands low and loads up on everything. This is Stoliarenko by finish all day. I'm right there with you with the Stoliarenko finish. Chandler at the Gracie gym. Yep, yes, she is. And she's a good grappler. It's just Stoliarenko is very, very good on the mat. Chandler KO, I could see it definitely. Violence, I think, is the way to go, Mushroom. Zaya, what is up? Brady got late for your show. What is up, Zaya? How you doing? Zaya with the dono. Appreciate you, Zaya. $10. Appreciate you a ton. Always in here supporting. Does go a long way, Zaya. Thank you so much. How is Chelsea's sub defense? She does make some mistakes on the mat, but it's good. I mean, like Mushroom said, she's training at Gracie. So very good grappler in her own right. But, Stoliarenko, black belt in BJJ. I think Chelsea's like a purple belt. So, Stoliarenko should have the advantage on the mat, although I don't think Chelsea is some bum on the mat by any means. Let's see here. I got the under 2.5 and this one at plus 155. Yeah, I like that line. I'm right there with you on some violence with that fight doesn't go. All right. We had two really fun and exciting fights to kick off the card. And now we're going to go to some fights that I think are going to play out super boring. I mean, this Maxime Grisham fight is I think it's going to be a very, very boring fight. But I think it is a really good spot for Maxime Grisham here. And I did pull the trigger on him. It's a small play for me. Just because it's a fight I don't want to be too heavily invested in. But you have a unit on Maxime Grisham, minus 175. I kind of was hovering over the trigger of Maxime Grisham all week. I decided to finally pull the trigger, and I pulled the trigger at minus 175. The line has moved just a tad. It's like minus 180 now, but I think it's a good matchup for Maxime Grisham. I think Maxime Grisham is very underrated. You know, a lot of people think he's not that great, and he's a boring fighter. We'll talk about another boring fighter next fight in Christoph Jocko, but these fighters are good. I mean, Grisham's a really good fighter. We saw him against Dustin Jacoby, drop him twice in the first round. I had Jacoby in that fight, and yeah, I thought Grisham won the fight. I thought it was super close, but I slightly edged the Grisham side, that's super impressive to me. You know, dropping Dustin Jacoby, having success on the feet against Dustin Jacoby is no joke. Like on the feet in this matchup, he's going to have a pretty big advantage on the feet because, you know, Philippe Lins, just so low volume. I mean, outside the UFC and the PFL, this guy looked like an absolute killer, and I was extremely high on him coming into the UFC, but he comes into the UFC and he looks like crap. You know, throwing, you know, nothing against Arlovsky, getting knocked out by Tanner Boser. Even in the Prochnio fight, which he won, he looked horrible in that fight. Just luckily for him, Prochnio gassed out in 6 minutes. I was watching that fight, and it looked up at the clock, and there was like 4 minutes left in the second round. Prochnio was done. He was done for, and Philippe Lins couldn't finish him. And then Philippe Lins started to gas out. But yeah, like I said, luckily Prochnio had the worst gas tank. So I'm just not been impressed with Philippe Lins in these 3 fights in the UFC. He looked phenomenal on the scales. But you know what? How far is that going to go? He looks to be in great shape, but he looked in great shape his last fight against Prochnio. The guy still gassed out. And it was weird to me, like Maxime Grisham is a guy that has primarily fought at light heavyweight. He has some fights at heavyweight, but primarily fighting at light heavyweight. And again, then a guy like Philippe Lins, who has fought, you know, most of his career at heavyweight. It was actually Grisham who was bigger and a decent amount bigger as well. So this is a fight where if it plays out on the feet, I favor Grisham here. I think he has more tools on the feet, more volume, better cardio. And then I have a suspicion that Philippe Lins is going to grapple here because he did it against Marcin Prochnio. He tried to go for takedowns and he got some, but Prochnio was able to pop back up. And then I heard in an interview that Lins has said he's going to use his grappling here, and that's good and that's fine. But, you know, I just struggle to see Philippe Lins grappling Grisham for 15 minutes and not gassing out at some point. So it's a sketchy fight. It really is. But I like Grisham here, and I like him a decent amount, enough to put a bet on him. 1 unit, minus 175. I just don't, you know, what's Lins's path to victory? You know, submitting Grisham in the first round, knocking out Grisham in the first round, wrestling for 15 minutes and having success. I just don't think any of those are too likely. So give me Grisham for the win. We'll see what happens there. And as far as DraftKings, I don't mind Grisham as like a low-owned play. I don't think many people are going to have him. I think he does have sneaky finish upside. Lins has been finished 4 times by knockout, and Grisham actually hits very, very hard. I'm kind of predicting like a Grisham late finish as well. So Grisham, late finish, 1 unit bet, minus 175. And then on DraftKings, I do not mind him, but I don't expect this fight to be exciting by any means. I mean, the last fight with Grisham against William Knight, although it was a masterclass, he just completely beat William Knight from pillar to post. It was a horrible fight and tough to watch. And I kind of see the same thing here. I think it might be a little bit exciting early, but as Lins starts to gas out, I can see this being just a terrible, terrible fight. But I do like Grisham to win this one. All right, let's see what we got in the chat here. I totally side with Grisham. I think he breaks what they call him El Monstro's face and gets a KO here. Grisham by KO is a decent price. Yeah, Grisham by KO is around the plus 325 range. And I'm kind of predicting the same thing, like a late one as well. I need violence with Maxime finish. Let's go. I like it. On Sheeness to shock the world. Yeah, that would shock the world with Sadiq Yusuf being a minus 1,000 favorite. Lins is pretty lean. Yeah, he's looking good. Looking very good. Didn't Maxime almost win against Jacoby and many thought it was a robbery? Was it this fight? Yeah, Maxime almost did win against Jacoby. And like I said, I had Jacoby in that fight, but I thought Maxime probably won that fight. So, I mean, even, you know, fighting that close with Jacoby is very impressive to me. Christian's got that tall man takedown defense. I think his takedown defense is good. It's solid. His get-up game is very good. Grisham, third round decision. I like that call. I'm predicting a third round finish myself, Mushroom. Fight to end in KO plus 165. I think that hits for you there. Yeah, I like that, Bill. Grisham, third round KO plus 1700. That's what I'm going with. But yeah, I just had the 1 unit bet on Grisham. I don't want to be too overly exposed to this fight. Jan with the same game parlay here. Like always, he says Grisham to win, plus the fight starts round 2, plus Grisham more than 0.5 knockdowns, plus 350. My goodness, there you go. There you go. Yeah, it's awkward keeping Tallman on the ground. That is the truth. All right, we will keep moving on, guys. We have Krzysztof Jocko going against Brendan Allen. And speaking of really boring fighters, like Krzysztof Jocko is probably the most boring fighter in the entire UFC. It's hard to watch some of this guy's fights. Like I can't remember a fight where I watched a Jocko fight and thought, wow, that was a fight of the night contender. Krzysztof Jocko just went to war. Like that's not his style. And I think this fight's super interesting because we have Krzysztof Jocko who has some of the best fight IQ in the entire UFC. And we have somebody in Brendan Allen who has pound for pound the worst fight IQ I've ever seen in my life. Like this guy makes so many mistakes. When you expect him to grapple, he strikes. When you expect him to strike, he grapples. He is very frustrating to watch, frustrating to bet on. And there's a good chance if you do have a Brendan Allen ticket by the end of the night, there is a hole in your TV because it's just so frustrating to bet on this guy. Like against Chris Curtis, what are you doing, Brendan Allen? Get the fight down to the mat. No, let's strike with Chris Curtis and get knocked out. Let's strike with Sean Strickland and get knocked out. I mean, this guy just continually makes so many mistakes just everywhere in the fight. Even against Soriano, like everybody expected him to wrestle. He did not wrestle at all. He was still able to win, and that was good. But my goodness. Whereas Krzysztof Jocko, he has multiple ways to win. He is a black belt in his own right. Of course, you got to favor Allen being the better grappler, very dangerous on the mat. Allen's grappling's elite, but he just doesn't use it. He kind of fell in love with his striking as of late. So yes, he's a phenomenal grappler. Yes, Allen should use his grappling here. He's not going to do it. And even if he does, good luck trying to take down and hold down Jocko, who has elite takedown defense. So I do think this fight primarily plays out on the feet. And when it does, you have a walking punching bag in Brendan Allen, who, don't get me wrong, his striking has improved quite a bit, who Allen will be landing the harder shots. But you have Krzysztof Jocko, who's going to slow down the fight. He's going to have the much better striking defense. So we can bring up the numbers a little bit here. Brendan Allen has a 44% striking defense. Just to put that in perspective, that's the same striking defense as Stoliarenko, which is it's terrible. He blocks punches with his face. So everything Jocko throws is going to land. And Jocko has a 57% striking defense. He's very good at not getting into wars, not getting into a ton of exchanges. And I like that about Jocko. So although I think Allen's a more dangerous striker, I do think Jocko is going to have some success on the feet. And then I think a really clear path to victory for Jocko here is getting the fight down to the mat. We saw against Gerald Meerschaert, he was taking Meerschaert down at will, took him down 4 times, able to control him. And like I said, Jocko has that black belt himself, very defensively sound on the mat. I think he can take down Brendan Allen, who has a 50% takedown defense. So, yeah, I like Jocko in this fight quite a bit. But it's going to be close, right? Every Jocko fight's close. There's no Jocko fight where you're like, wow, Jocko just went in there and just killed that guy. He doesn't do that. And he fights close with pretty much everybody. I know the Meerschaert fight was kind of one-way traffic, but I do think it's going to be a close fight. But I do have 2 bets on this fight. The first bet I have is a half a unit on the Jocko decision, plus 155. When you bet Jocko, you bet him by decision. This guy has the worst finish rate I've ever seen, 29%. Has 1 finish in the UFC, which is concerning considering he's been in the UFC for, it's been like 8 or 9 years since Jocko's been in the UFC. So you got only 1 finish to show for it. He's not finishing Brendan Allen. So I have the Jocko decision, plus 155, half a unit. And what I also have is the shout to Lou Becci for pointing this one out. Plus 450 for the split decision. And I bet the split decision twice before. It has not hit yet. I'm going to hit it eventually. And I think this could be the fight. Are the judges going to favor the damage of Brendan Allen, or are they going to favor the point-winning style of Krzysztof Jocko? Are the judges even watching the fight? Did the judges fall asleep? Because, odds are a couple of them might fall asleep because this is a Krzysztof Jocko fight. Chris Lee, could be sleeping during the duration of this fight, waking up, just writing something random on the scorecards. Adela Bird, I believe, she's probably legally blind. She's probably not even watching this fight. Like, she can write something random on the scorecard. So I just think if there's going to be a split, it could very well be this one. But I do like Jocko here to win. I like him to win by decision, half a unit plus 155. And then I think that split decision is going to be live. The fight is heavily favored to go to decision. I think it's like minus 170 to go the distance, minus 180. Let me double check. The fight to go to decision, minus 165. So that split makes a lot of sense to me. So we'll see what happens. But give me Jocko. Jocko to hopefully win by split decision would be a pretty big hit there. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Oh, I didn't even talk about Draftkings, but not much to talk about. I'm fading Jocko and Draftkings, and then I'm not playing a ton of. If anything, it's Allen, but even Allen, I'm not too excited about it. Jocko decision. Jocko could not finish one of my lunches. Mushroom, I don't think I could finish one of your lunches, but yeah, I agree. Jocko cannot finish anything there. Jocko will win, boring or not. He gets the win in this one. Yeah, he makes the fight boring. He makes the fight greasy, like we're all saying. It's a greasy split decision. I think that's on the table. And I'm right there with you. I've tried fading boring Jocko in the past, given up on that. He's going to make me some money back this week. And yeah, I've tried to fade him plenty of times, and it's frustrating to watch because he just does everything right. He makes no mistakes. He's smart. He knows how to win fights, and those are fighters you want to bet on. Big on the over here. I can't see a finish either way. I think it's a really good look there. Jocko is the most boring fighter on the UFC roster. Yes, sir. That said, I can always count on him. Yep, I have Jocko by decision plus 150. I feel the exact same way. Just play overs, and that fight won't be boring anymore. Yep, I have the decision prop here, so hopefully it's not too big of a boring fight. Jocko by split would be ideal there. Who knows? Maybe Jocko can K Allen here. Surprise, surprise, like I predicted. Jacoby KO Jung, and I called it. Yeah, Jacoby's a much better finisher than Christoph Jocko. If Jocko finished Allen, I would be fairly surprised. I think it would have more to do with, Brendan Allen's chin than Jocko having power. He's not a finisher. I hear you about Allen's fight IQ. Take it from somebody who put 5 units on him against Chris Curtis. And I think I bet on Allen against, was it? No. Yeah, I think I did have Allen as well in a parlay right there with you, Tony. And yeah, it did not. It was frustrating. Like you're yelling at the TV, like, what are you doing? And I don't like Allen guy for some reason. Dern is hot. Yeah, we'll talk about Dern in a little bit. All right. We'll keep moving on. I don't think that fight's going to be too exciting, but this fight is going to be very exciting. Joaquim Silva, Jesse Ronson. I cannot wait for this fight. And this is a fight where originally I wasn't too excited about it, but after digging into it, I'm looking forward to this fight. So it's interesting because we have Joaquim Silva, who is minus 140 as a favorite. And I believe he's a favorite because people are expecting him to grapple here. And yes, if Joaquim Silva grapples, he's going to smoke Jesse Ronson. It's not going to be close. Like the path to victory is there. He's the much better grappler. And we saw what Rafa Garcia did to Jesse Ronson his last fight. Silva's a much better grappler than Jesse Ronson by a mile. Like his nickname is Neto BJJ for a reason. The problem with Joaquim Silva is he refuses to grapple. He's been in the UFC since I think 2015, 2014. One takedown, and it was against Jared Gordon, and Jared Gordon popped right back up. So one takedown in the last 8 years or so, right? Not good. On top of that, his last submission win was about 8 years ago as well. So he's not went for takedowns. It's not his game in the UFC. He's going out there and he's doing one thing, and he's doing one thing only, and that's going to war. And it's fun. He's a very fun and exciting fighter to watch. But if I was to bet on Joaquim Silva in this matchup especially, I would want him to grapple, because if he does that, it's going to be an easy night in the office. But I would caution anyone thinking that Joaquim Silva is going to go in there and do that, which it makes too much sense for him not to do that. But that's just his game. He wants to go in there and bang, and he's paying for it. He got knocked out in his last 2 fights against Ricky Glenn. Terrible look. He's been knocked out twice in a row. Terrible look. And Jesse Ronson hits very hard. So I think Jesse Ronson knocks out Joaquim Silva here. But I think somebody's getting knocked out here. I do have a bet on this fight. Actually, 2 bets. So this is interesting, and I think it's a very interesting way to play it. And yes, Andre, the Ricci fight is off. So I was going to bet the fight ends in KO. I saw on DraftKings Sportsbook for this fight, Silva Ronson. I saw it at plus 300, and I thought that was interesting because these guys are going to stand and bang. Silva refuses to grapple. So I was going to play that. And then I saw FanDuel open up the fight to end by submission at plus 320. And there's a huge discrepancy between those lines to whereas I can just play on both. And if this fight finishes, it's a good amount of profit rather than just laying the minus 165, minus 170 on the fight doesn't go, which is what I would do if I did not have access to these two books. If you have DraftKings and FanDuel, why not put, some money on the ends in KO, some money on the ends in sub, and hopefully this fight finishes, which I think it does. But yeah, I have 0.75 units on the fight to end in KO plus 300. And then I have 0.75 units on the fight to end in sub at plus 320. And if there's a finish in any type of way, sub or knockout, it's a pretty good amount of profit there. But like I said, if I did not have access to those two books, it would be the under 2.5 or the fight doesn't go, which are very popular plays. And rightfully so. These guys are going to stand and bang until one man falls. And on top of that, if Silva does choose to grapple, he's going to make it look easy. So, yeah, I like violence here. I like this fight from a DraftKings perspective. Silva can win by knockout. Ronson can win by knockout. And if Silva does want to grapple here for the first time in forever, he's going to run through Jesse Ronson pretty easily. It's just I just can't trust him to do that. So as far as a pick goes, I'm picking Ronson. But give me violence here. I'm hoping somebody gets finished at some point in this fight. But it should be a very, very fun fight. Every Silva fight is just a war and fun. And Jesse Ronson's going to definitely be glad to get into that war as well. Boris saying the Neto stands. It's not popping up. None of the comments are popping up. Fred, oh, am I back? Oh, what's up, Brian? How you doing? I think I'm back. There was a glitch in the StreamYard. Yeah, Penny got sick. Under 2.5 is a good price on Betway. What they got over there? But yeah, I think the under 2.5 is good. On Bet Online, it did open up at plus 110. Was not able to get on that, and then it went to minus 120. Wish I would have gotten either of those, but it kind of moved throughout the week. It's a very popular plan, and rightfully so. Under 2.5, I agree. All right, we'll keep moving on. We have Ilir Latifi going against Alexei Olynyk. This is the 1-800 gambler fight on the card. If you bet on this fight, you have a problem. But I almost bet on Olynyk, and I just can't do it. Like, the problem with this fight is, I could see this fight playing out a million different ways. I could see Latifi going out there and starching Olynyk in 60 seconds. I could see Latifi going there and taking down Olynyk and laying on him for 15 minutes. I could see Olynyk go in there and out-volume Latifi, who does literally nothing on the feet, and win a 15-minute striking fight. I could see Olynyk going in there and getting a submission against Ilir Latifi. Like, I could see this fight playing out so many different ways, too. I'm at the point where I'm just content with just passing and not betting on this fight whatsoever. Stylistically, I think it's a winnable fight for Olynyk. Latifi, just so low volume. He's landed 15 strikes total, significant strikes total in his last 30 minutes of fight time. Stylistically, Latifi probably does take this fight down to the mat. When he does that, it's right where Olynyk wants to be on the mat. Olynyk can get a submission from anywhere on top, off his back. I think Olynyk's super live. It's just, do I want to bet on the oldest fighter on the roster? Not really. I don't know. This is a mess of a fight. It's a weird fight. Every Olynyk fight is weird, and it's a sketchy fight as well. I just don't want anything to do with it. Yeah, it's a pass, and I think pass is probably the best move. But if I was forced to bet on this fight, it would absolutely be dog or pass. But yeah, I can't bet this one. From a DraftKings perspective, that's where I'll have my action. I do have some Latifi just in case he gets that early knockout, and then Olynyk at 7,500 just in case he gets that submission. But just an ugly, ugly fight. But I'll pick Olynyk for the upset. But my goodness, I don't know if I want to bet it at all. This whole card is 1-800 gambler. Most of it, I can agree with that. Latifi all day. How do you see him winning though? Like that's the problem. Do you think he knocks out Olynyk? Do you think he lays on him? I don't know. Don't bet the Latifi fight if you like having money. That's exactly how I feel. It's just a sketchy fight. Olynyk looks big against Latifi. Should get him under his armpit like a old school book and finish it. Anything can happen in this fight. Latifi's never been subbed. He's never fought Olynyk though. Alexei wins this, maybe by sub, but I think decision. yeah, like I could see a decision, I could see a submission, I could see it's going so many other ways. Got to take the value on this one. Latifi sucks. Let's go Olynyk. Can't disagree with that. I mean, Latifi looks like he sucks the last couple fights. His fights have been horrible. I'd at least sprinkle Olynyk by sub. Yeah, they're all over it, though. I think Olynyk by sub, best price is like plus 290. I wish I had a little bit more on that. Olynyk by sub. Latifi by third round decision. Only bet you can make on this fight is Latifi over 2.5. I think it could hit, but you're just going to be sweating bullets with that one. If he has no neck, he can't be choked. That is the narrative, but there's plenty of submissions that do not involve the neck. And Olynyk has 69 total submissions, something crazy like that, 60 submissions. Olynyk by sub, you don't have to bet big. Yeah, you don't have to bet big. If you want to sprinkle the sub, nothing wrong with that. I just wish there was a better price tag on it. Yeah, only plus 360. Not great. Latifi's going to KO him in the first. I could see it. Send me oranges, will do. Uncle Weezy got you there. Latifi out wrestles to a decision. Yeah, that could be a path there. Over 1.5, I think that could be a path there. But again, just a little sweaty. Yeah, what is the over 1.5 rounds? Over 1.5 is, that's not terrible. Minus 130. It's just you're going to be like terrified the whole time. But yeah, I think that very well could hit the over 1.5. But again, terrifying, and that would have to mean you have a bet on this fight, which scary. All right, we will keep moving on. If you guys have not already, be sure to leave a like. Let's try to get those likes up by the time we get out of here. Also, subscribe if you're not already. And then be sure to tune in to the live stream tomorrow. Best Bet, going to be going over the best bets for each and every fight on the card and just talking through the chat up until fight time tomorrow. All right. Next, we have this is the best fight on the card, in my opinion. I mean, there's some good fights on this card, but I think this is the best one. Mike Davis, Slava Borshev. And originally, I thought I would be taking the dog shot here on Borshev. And after digging into the tape, and I went very deep into this fight, I watched every single Mike Davis fight available. And what I noticed was in pretty much every single Mike Davis fight, especially outside the UFC, he's wrestling. He is wrestling, and he's a very, very good wrestler. He has the ability to get this fight down to the mat, no problem. And if he's able to come in here with the right game plan, he's going to look like a massive favorite. The problem is Mike Davis, although he is a really good wrestler, his controls is not good. His opponents are able to pop right back up, and I do see that here. Borshev is going to be getting taken down at will, but Borshev does have a very good get-up game. So I do think this primarily plays on the feet, but my thinking is, like, on the feet, it is going to be pretty close and competitive, but it's going to be Mike Davis that has the ability to take it down to the mat. Like, if there is a close round, it's going to be Mike Davis who's going to kind of seal off the round with those takedowns. And if Mike Davis really wants to, why not come in here and shoot a ton of takedowns? Because if he shoots a ton of takedowns, he's going to get pretty much every single one of them. A gust of wind could take down Slava Borshev. So I just think that Mike Davis, in a close fight on the feet, can mix in takedowns to seal off that close round. And then he has the path to victory to wrestle for 15 minutes. And if he does that, he's going to look like a big favorite. Mike Davis, he's no Mark Diakase. He doesn't have the control of a Mark Diakase. It's not going to look anything like that, I don't think. But I do think Mike Davis can go and get 5, 6, 7, 8. He can get 10 takedowns if he really wants to. Mike Davis can get 10 takedowns here because the wrestling's no problem. It's just the control is not great for Mike Davis. And Borshev does have a good get-up game. I'm going to pick Davis to win here. I'm not betting it. I don't have a bet on this fight. I don't like any props. I could see a Davis decision. I could see a potential finish on either side. I guess I don't mind violence, but I'm gonna pass on this one. Sit back and watch it. My favorite fight on the card. Just from a betting perspective, nothing sticking out. But yeah, give me Davis as far as a pick goes. From a DraftKings perspective, I like Davis as well. Just because the takedown upside, like the path's there. If he wants to, he can get a ton of takedowns in this fight. And then I don't mind some Borshev just in case Mike Davis goes out there and does not wrestle at all, which could be on the table here. But I think Davis on DraftKings is a pretty good play just for the takedown upside there. But yeah, no bet on this one. More so interested from a DraftKings perspective and a fan perspective on this one. All right. I like Mike Davis, and he looks like he's on the secret juice. Yeah, he looks really good. Mike Davis and Grisham moneyline and Randy Brown decision are the best bets on this card. I agree with all of them. I'm not going to bet Mike Davis, but I think he does win. Mike Davis straight, can't bet him by decision. Pulling off Kimura's. He does have one submission win on his record there, Mike Davis. I would more so lean towards decision, but these guys are going to stand and bang, I think. All over Davis. I get it. I mean, the pass there. Yeah, Davis has been dealing with like a ton of things outside the cage. We have not seen him in a long time. So all those are definitely a little bit concerning, especially when you consider the price tag. But I'm not betting Davis at chalk here. But yeah, he's been dealing with like a lot of stuff. Carrillo talking some prize picks here. Yeah, I did write down 4 prize picks that I did like, and they probably have moved a little bit. I picked them out on like Tuesday. But let me see if I can find them here. So the 4 prize picks I went with that I liked were the under 29.5 significant strikes for Latifi. He's only landed 15 in his last 30 minutes. He doesn't do anything. I like the John Castaneda over 55.5 significant strikes in a fight I think goes 15 minutes. I think the over hits there and that. I think this one's kind of a sneaky one. Joaquin Silva under 1 takedown. He only has 1 takedown in the last like 8 or 9 years. Could be worth a shot. And then Mike Davis over 2.5 takedowns. I think if he wants to, he can get 10 if he wants to. So those are kind of the price picks I'm looking at, Carrillo. A little seal betting yawn. We'll talk about that fight soon. Jai Herbert nearly finished Trinaldo. Yes, he did. Slava Klaus has no takedown defense. Yeah, none at all. It's something he needs to work on. And, taking this fight on short notice, don't really like that for him. All right, we will move on to the next fight. John Castaneda going against Daniel Santos. And I do have 2 bets here. I really like the over in this fight. Both these guys are super durable, especially Daniel Santos. I mean, Santos showed off a chin, extreme toughness in his last fight. And as far as how this fight plays out, I think it's going to be very close. I think people are very low on Daniel Santos after getting beat by Julio Arce in his debut. But, oftentimes we see these fighters make their debut, not have the best performance, not show the best version of themselves, and then come back in the next fight and look really good. And I think that might be the case here with Daniel Santos, because you watch him outside the UFC, outside that Arce fight, and he's very impressive. He does a lot of great things, and I think he does some things that can give Castaneda some problems here, and at the very least, make this a close fight. Daniel Santos, he's all about pressure, coming forward the entire time. And what I noticed with John Castaneda is he does a lot of backing up at times. We saw against Eddie Wineland. Old man Eddie Wineland was able to back him up, and Eddie Wineland was having success in that first round. He did eventually clip the 40-year-old Eddie Wineland, who's been knocked out a million times, but Castaneda was backing up, and he did not look too great backing up. Whereas Santos, he's going to be pressuring nonstop, and I actually think it's going to be whoever is able to pressure in this fight that's going to have success. And I do lean towards that being Santos. So I know Castaneda is one of the most popular parlay pieces on the card, but I think it's going to be play out close. I mean, if Castaneda can mix in takedowns here, I think that could seal off some rounds here. But on the feet, I like the pressure of Santos. I like the volume of Santos, and I think he could make this competitive. But from a betting perspective, I like the over here. I have a unit on the over, 2.5 minus 155. Both guys super tough. 7 losses combined, only 1 inside the distance. That was John Castaneda getting knocked out back in like 2014. John Castaneda super tough. Daniel Santos super tough. I think this fight does go over more often than not. If there is a finish, though, I actually think it's going to come from the Santos side. Santos is extremely dangerous. Went and watched all his fights. There was at least four spinning back kicks to the body. Like, this guy is super dangerous. He's a finisher. And like I said, he has that next level toughness. So if there is a finish, I do think it comes from the Santos side. And I did see a line that stuck out, and that was the finish only. The scorecards equals no action on Santos on DraftKings, which was at plus 150. I think that should be closer to a pick'em. Like I said, if there's a finish, I do lean it being Daniel Santos there. So, but I think this fight goes the distance. I think the overs are good. The fight goes to decision's good. And I do have 1 unit on that over 2.5 at minus 155. From a DraftKings perspective, not really going to touch Castaneda. I like other spots, and I don't mind Daniel Santos, especially in cash, for his toughness, his durability, his pressure, his volume. And I think this fight does go the full 15. And then, like I said, if there's a finish, I do lean it towards being Santos there. So should be a fun fight. And I do think we'll see a better version of Daniel Santos. And I do think he's going to make this close and competitive here. Everyone's on Santos. I completely disagree with that. I saw like 90% of people were on Castaneda. Like, Castaneda was like one of the most top picked fighters on Tapology. What's up, Brady? You handsome, sexy man. What is up, Jace? How you doing? I wasn't impressed with Santos at all, but he trains with Charles, so I don't know. Yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, his performance was not impressive at all. Brady putting money on an over is rare. Yeah, it's very rare. I actually did win some money on some overs last week or 2 weeks ago. I had the over 2.5 in the Song fight, and then the over 2.5 in another fight. What was it the Bill Algeo fight? So yeah, when I do like these overs, I do hit them, but I'm most likely on the unders more often than not. Santos money line. I don't hate the shot on the Santos money line. I got Castaneda. Castaneda's going to embarrass Santos. How though? I mean, I just don't see it. Like, how is he going to embarrass Santos? I don't know. I just don't see it. Brady, Borshev, more significant strikes is plus 370. I don't know. Plus 370 for him to win and more significant strikes, or just more significant strikes? If it's just more significant strikes, yeah, you might as well take a shot on that since it's only plus 100 on Bet Online. But if it's the win and more significant strikes, I don't know. Just put $10 on John submission 2 and 3. He has 3 of them round 3 by arm triangle. Yeah, I guess he could maybe. I don't know. I don't see it personally, but those are juicy odds there. Just yeah, I mean, if you can get it at plus 370, worth a shot for sure. All right, so we'll move on to the next fight. We have Sodiq Yusuf going against Don Sheeness. I mean, not much to talk about here. Yusuf is minus 1,100. No props are sticking out. I thought, maybe violence, but they're all over it. Minus 220 for the fight doesn't go. I'm good. Yusuf is a guy that he's not a great finisher. Only a 50% finish rate, finishing half his wins. The other half go to decision. I'm okay on that. I think he probably does finish Sheeness, but Sheeness is a tough dude. Got knocked out in his MMA debut. Since then, hasn't been knocked out, hasn't been submitted. I don't know. Yusuf inside the distance, but I don't minus 210 for Yusuf inside the distance. No. Yusuf by knockout minus 180. No, thank you. Just an unbettable fight, in my opinion. I see people on the under 1.5, under 2.5, I guess. But I don't know. Yusuf wins, but there's not much to say. I'm not taking the dog shot on Sheeness. I don't think he's a bum by any means. I think he could have success here and there with the takedowns, but just on the feet, it's Yusuf all day, to the point where he probably does get that knockout because the skill discrepancy on the feet is that wide. So yeah, Yusuf, I guess by knockout is where I lean. Could see a decision potentially from a Draftkings perspective. Not going to be touching much Sheeness, but I will have some Yusuf at 9,500. Don't mind him in cash. He's safe. He's minus 1,100, and he has some upside as well. So yeah, Yusuf, but I'm not betting on this fight. No way I am taking Santos. That is fine. You can literally not bet this fight next. I agree. Love the yeah, he's a good nickname. He has a really good nickname. Santos is an awful play. Thank you, Sean. Yusuf is overrated, but he definitely should win this one. Yep, I agree. Yusuf is a good parlay piece. I hope you're joking. I mean, minus 1,100. I mean, it's not going to do anything to your parlay. Say, like, for example, say you want to parlay Randy Brown and Sodiq Yusuf. Randy Brown's minus 330. Yusuf is minus 1,100. Now you're going to get it at what? Minus 250, right? Like, it doesn't, there's just no point. And especially like Sodiq Yusuf, I don't think is worth being minus 1,100. So I wouldn't do it personally, but I mean, if you want to put him in a parlay, I think he wins. Yusuf is really good, but Chinny, yeah, he is Chinny. Have a real good feeling about Jocko for some reason. I hope you're right. Minus 1,100 on a parlay piece. Just put your money in a bond. Yeah, I think a bond would be wiser. I mean, it hits, but that doesn't do much. Yusuf by KO or pass, and even then it's minus 180. So I'm just going to pass on it. All right, we will move on to the next fight. We have Barcelos against Trevin Jones. Cannot wait to talk about this fight. This one's an interesting one. So this is the first fight I did tape last week, and I taped it on Friday. And yeah, I love Barcelos in this spot, but there are a few things that concern me here. So, looking into this fight, I think it's a really good buy low spot on Barcelos. This was a guy that you're paying, minus 500 for him his last time out. He's like a minus 180 favorite against Timur Valiev. He was, minus 600 against Taha. He was minus 1,000 in a fight. He was a pick him against Said Nurmagomedov. I mean, this is a guy that you're typically laying a ton of juice on. And now this price tag, especially last week when I bet it, was down in like the minus 190 range. And I did end up putting 2 units on Barcelos at minus 196. The reason being is, Barcelos is better everywhere outside of 2 areas. And those 2 areas include the age, Jones being 3 years younger, and the power. But I do think the power is pretty close. Barcelos hits really hard, but obviously you got to favor Jones in the power. He hits like an absolute truck. But yeah, on the feet, I do heavily favor Barcelos in terms of winning minutes. He's going to be the one coming forward, whereas you see Jones in a lot of his fights, he's just backing up, not throwing any volume. He's loading up as well. He's loading up on these big shots. He's loading up in these big shots. He's trying to take your head off, and that could definitely work. And maybe he does knock out Hani Barcelos, but it's going to be Barcelos coming forward. He has more tools on the feet. He's going to be landing more significant strikes. He's going to probably outland Jones 2-1, 3-1, but it's Jones who's going to have the power to potentially put out Hani Barcelos here. In terms of the grappling, Hani Barcelos is like a 3rd-degree black, something crazy in jiu-jitsu. Like, this guy's great. We don't get to see it a ton because he relies on his striking a lot, but when he does grapple, it's a sight to see. I don't know if that comes into play here, but if this fight does hit the mat, it means Barcelos is going to take it there. Barcelos like a 90% takedown defense on the feet. Trevin Jones is like a 12% takedown accuracy. So I like Barcelos if it hits the mat. I like Barcelos on the feet, but to be honest, I just have a bad feeling about this fight. I have a bad feeling in the back of my head about this fight, like a gut feeling. And sometimes I get these gut feelings, and a lot of times they're right. And then I saw the weigh-ins today, and I did not like what I saw from Hani Barcelos. He looked old. He looked completely sucked out, and Trevin Jones is a super dangerous guy. So although I am very confident in Barcelos, I think I might hedge out a little bit on Trevin Jones, and this is the way I'm going to do it. So I have 2 units on Barcelos minus 196. So I did beat a lot of line movement there. He's like minus 300 on FanDuel, which that's kind of wild at this point, but he's still around minus 235, minus 230. But yeah, I have 2 units on Barcelos, minus 196. And then I'm going to put a 1/4 unit on Trevin Jones to win by knockout to kind of hedge. Because like I said, I have that gut feeling that something might go wrong here. Because everything points good for Barcelos here. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better minute winner everywhere. But 35 years old, Trevin Jones can crack. And the weigh-ins that was the last straw there. So I'm going to listen to that gut feeling. We'll see if I was right or wrong. But I'm hedging out a little bit. I still think Barcelos wins more often than not, but I am hedging out a little bit with that knockout prop. So I have a 1/4 unit on Trevin Jones to win by knockout at plus 600. Like, if you're on Trevin Jones, you have to love that knockout prop at plus 600, plus 575. Like, that is how he wins. Trevin Jones is not going to submit Hani Barcelos. Trevin Jones is not going to win a decision. I'd be shocked if he did against Hani Barcelos. If Trevin Jones wins, it's going to be by knockout. So have the 2 unit bet on Barcelos, and I did hedge off a tad, 1/4 unit on the Jones scale plus 600. And I don't typically do that. I don't typically hedge anything. I usually let it ride, but I'm going to listen to that gut feeling, and just seeing it in the weigh-ins, I just did not like what I saw, honestly. So we'll see what happens, but I do think Barcelos still wins this fight, but Jones has a puncher's chance. He definitely has a puncher's chance. Let's see what we got in the chat here. From a DraftKings perspective, I don't mind Barcelos. He's good. He's a good scorer on DraftKings. I do like some other plays a little bit better. And then as far as Trevin Jones, he's a solid pump play, because if he does win, it's by knockout. But not in love with this fight from a DraftKings perspective. All right. This fight I'm staying far away. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I have Barcelos to win in more significant strikes, minus 200. Yeah, good way to get the price down. Jones isn't outlanding this guy. Barcelos by decision, that's kind of where I lean as well. The only way I see Trevin Jones winning is by a lucky KO shot. Same. Trevin Jones is like the bantamweight Joaquin Buckley. Interesting comparison. I don't know what I would compare Trevin Jones to, but yeah, he's a guy that is losing up until he's able to find that shot. Like, I mean, some of his numbers, man, like 41% striking defense, horrendous volume. Look at that significant strike differential. Like, he's not a minute winner at all, but he has power. He has power, and Barcelos is 35, and he did not look great at weigh-in. So Trevin Jones could knock him out, but it should be Barcelos. Hani by KO or sub, so inside the distance plus 200. Yeah, I'm leaning more decision myself, but I could see a finish maybe. This card is so torturous, so many no names. Yeah, there are a lot of no names, but there's some fun fights. And I agree. October 22nd is going to be crazy. I absolutely like Barcelos. They'll swing wild. Somebody catches someone. I'm not confident, though. This could very well look like the Mir Valley of Trevin Jones fight. It could. It could. Why not take the Barcelos decision only? Yeah, why not? That's a good look for sure. The only problem is it's minus 330, so you are paying a very hefty price tag. But yeah, I mean, I like it. I like that. That was something I was considering, but minus 330, I don't know. If you want to play it straight, I think that's fine. It's a steep price tag. Um, Barcelos versus Taha was so great, one of my favorite bangers. But the way Taha lost last time, man, I think Barcelos will deliver. I think he should as well. Has Ronnie ever been KO'd? No, he's never been knocked out. He's never been knocked down. But there's always the first for everything, right? Trevin got 6 decision wins, only 4 submission wins, and only 3 knockouts. Yeah, I mean, maybe the power is overrated, but at the UFC level, he's shown some power, which is weird. Usually, guys show power outside the UFC. They come into the UFC and those decisions start racking up, but it's the opposite with Trevin Jones. Prior to the UFC, he had like 1 maybe knockout win, maybe 2. So interesting stuff. Mushroom with the Lambo Parlay, Kinety KO, and Olynyk sub, Trinaldo KO, Lambo Parlay plus 24,300. You heard it here first from Mushroom. Let's see if it hits, man. That'd be a crazy hit. Speaking of Randy Brown going against Francisco Trinaldo, we have Randy Brown minus 330 and Trinaldo plus 270. This is going to close out my parlay. Was looking all week to parlay something up with Randy Brown, one of my favorite spots on the card. I ended up parlaying it with the fight doesn't go in the Costa Kinety fight. Came out to minus 117 earlier in the week. Both those lines moved quite a bit, especially the fight doesn't go in the Kinety fight. But I still like that. Both those as a parlay piece, right? 2.5 units on that. My biggest play of the night. And yeah, I really like Randy Brown here. Man, he's so much bigger than Francisco Trinaldo. Like, I didn't expect it to be that big of a size discrepancy, but yeah, at the weigh-ins, it was clear that Randy Brown looks like 3 weight classes bigger than Trinaldo. Trinaldo, a 155er, fighting up to 170. I forget the exact numbers, but Brown's going to be significant height advantage, a significant reach advantage, significantly younger. Francisco Trinaldo, like 44 years old, and he's still getting wins, but he's getting wins against Dwight Grant. He's getting wins against Jai Herbert. He's getting wins against Danny Roberts. I can tell you right now that, Randy Brown would beat all those guys probably in one night, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I like Brown here. I think he's going to use that size, that reach, that length, the volume. He's going to have the better cardio. I think Brown has Trinaldo covered here outside of a knockout for Trinaldo here, which he does hit hard. Brown is kind of chinny, but, Brown was able to eat the shots from Chaos Williams, no problem. Did get dropped, was able to recover quickly. Trinaldo, I think he has like 2 knockouts in like the last 6 years, something like that. I think Brown will be fine, but yeah, I like Brown. I like Brown as a parlay piece. I'm not going to mess around with the props. I could see Brown winning by decision. Trinaldo's never been knocked out, but I could see Brown potentially knocking him out, the 44-year-old at this point. But yeah, I do like Brown as a parlay piece, and I do have him parlayed up with that fight doesn't go in the Kinety fight. As far as a DraftKings perspective, yeah, nothing really sticking out here. I mean, Brown is okay, I guess, 9,300. I don't see any takedowns. I don't think it finishes all that likely, so I think there's better plays. But yeah, from a betting perspective, I do like Brown as a parlay piece. Brown decision. I would lean decision as well. I could see Brown inside the distance, but Trinaldo is so tough. Yeah, he is tough. He's very tough. Trinaldo sitting in a split decision. Yeah, I wonder what the props are, or the odds are on that. Brown fights more carefully since he got KO'd by Vicente, and Trinaldo has really good defense. It's going all through rounds. I agree. Brown is a skyscraper that I think Trinaldo won't get on top of. Yeah, I don't think so as well. Trinaldo has 3 of 4 sub losses. Let's see if he can catch him with his long limbs and get a KO or sub. Finish either way. So leading finish for Brown. Yeah, I'm kind of more decision myself, but I do like Brown to win and like him to win quite a bit, although he's a pretty big favorite. All right, we have the main event, Mackenzie Dern going against John Xiaonan. And what stuck out to me when researching this fight was the Mackenzie Dern inside the distance, and I was hoping to get it at plus money, and I am not going to get it at plus money at all. Looks like minus 140 for Dern inside the distance, minus 150 for Dern inside the distance. I saw the minus 155, so I'm just passing here. I mean, Dern should win this fight, I suppose. She has 25 minutes to find 1 takedown, 1 back take. She can pull guard. If this fight hits the mat at any point in 25 minutes, Dern is going to run right through Yan Xiaonan. If Xiaonan is able to stuff the takedowns, is able to keep it on the feet for 25 minutes, Yan Xiaonan is going to destroy Dern on the feet. I know Dern's improved her striking. She went from a horrible striker to an okay striker, I suppose. She's very active on the feet. She throws hard. She's kind of wild and reckless, and that can cause some problems. But Yan is clearly the better fighter on the feet here, but that doesn't matter. I mean, Dern's going to look to get this fight down to the mat. Like I said, one takedown, one back take. The fight's over shortly after. Yan Xiaonan's ground game is not good, and it's not anywhere near the caliber of Mackenzie Dern at all. She made Carla Esparza look like Bo Nickel and Khamzat Chimaev combined, which is not good. So yeah, Dern inside the distance, Dern by sub, but I'm not betting this fight because the bookies are all over it. Sub, prop, minus 120, minus 110. I'm okay on that, but if you're going to bet this fight, I think that's the way to look. If you do like Yan, DraftKings Sportsbook has the decision only at minus through 135, something like that. If this goes the distance, 25 minutes, that probably means that Dern was not able to get the fight down to the mat, and Yan Xiaonan was able to pick apart Dern for 5 rounds. So I guess that's the way to look if you do like Yan, or even the Yan decision plus 380. But I think Dern does get this fight down to the mat and makes it look pretty easy here. From a DraftKings perspective, not going to have a ton of Yan, but I do like me some Dern just for that finish upside. One takedown is all it takes here. So give me Dern for the win, but I'm not laying minus 230, and I'm not even laying the minus 150 on the inside the distance. See, we got in the chat. Who did you have for the Allen Jocko? I have Jocko by decision. Also sprinkled the split. Dern round 4. Dern by booty smothering. There you go. Dern is hot. There you go. A hard pass. Yan passing as well. Dern finish only. Yan decision only. That's a good way to play it. Although the Dern finish only is minus 600. I was looking at that exact same thing, but yeah, they are on it. I've not looked into any Bellator. Well, I looked into the Spike Carlisle fight a little bit, but I'm not betting Bellator. You're picking Latifi. Nothing wrong with that. Yan almost got subbed by Angelo. No, Angelo no sub Hill. Yan got saved by the horn. Yeah, not a good look there. Money line should be closer. Yeah, it should be. Yan by decision plus 400, but I can't trust her to stop all the takedowns. I'm right there with you. If I could trust Yan to stuff all the takedowns, and if she had a better ground game, I would take a shot on her, but I think one takedown, it's over. Favorite play of the card, it's got to be my parlay. I like the Brown money line, and I like the fight doesn't go in the Kinety fight. I like those two plays a lot. And some other spots I like as well. So I'll go over my action that I have. 10 units on the line here. I had that 2-unit shot on Barcelos, bet it last Friday, minus 196. And like I said, I put a quarter unit to hedge off a tad on the Barcelos after the weigh-ins. Not like what I saw. I put a quarter unit on that Jones by knockout at plus 600. Either way, that's a ridiculous line for that Jones KO prop. But I still think Yanni gets it done. Maxime Grisham, 1 unit, minus 175. I think he wins this fight more often than not, but don't want to be too invested in it's a sketchy fight, honestly. My biggest play of the night's Brown money line parlayed with the Costa Kinety fight doesn't go. Minus 117, 2.5 units. Really like both those spots. My 2 favorite spots on the card combined into one parlay. The fight doesn't go in the Stoliarenko Chelsea Chandler fight, plus 130, half a unit. I have the Jocko by decision, plus 155, half a unit, a quarter unit on the sprinkle of the split decision at plus 450. Hoping that the judges fall asleep during the fight and write something down random on the scorecards, which is definitely a possibility in this Jocko fight because Jocko puts everybody to sleep. I have a 0.75 units on the Ronson Silva fight to end by knockout plus 300, as well as 0.75 units on the Silva Ronson fight to end by submission plus 320. I'm looking for a finish in that fight. If you don't have access to DraftKings or FanDuel or both combined, I would just look at the fight doesn't go or the under 2.5. I think that's an interesting way to play it, though, if you have both books there. Castaneda, Santos over 2.5 rounds, 1 unit minus 155. The Santos scorecards equals no action, half a unit plus 150. The finish only for Santos there. And then that is about it. But yeah, feeling pretty good about this card. It's a sketchy one, but keeping it semi-light, not going crazy. But yeah, there are some spots that I do like there. All right, any final questions, thoughts, anything? And then we'll head out of here, guys. Castaneda, Brown. Yeah, I like the Castaneda spot. I don't know if I'd parlay Castaneda personally, but I know a lot of people on that Castaneda as a parlay piece. Brady, how many finishes on this card do you see? I think Dern finishes. I think Stoliarenko fight finishes. Costa 3, 4, 5. I'll say 6. I'll say 6 finishes. FanDuel odds boost for Yon decision. I mean, if you're leaning that way, you might as well, right? I don't think it hits, but plus 480 is juicy. I really like the Grisham KO prop. I don't mind it. It's like plus 300 or about there. Any first minute finishes? If there's gonna be a first minute finish, it's got to be the Costa Kinety fight. That can happen in 60 seconds. Costa Kinety can finish in 60 seconds. Silva Ronson can finish in 60 seconds. I know Silva got finished in less than 60 seconds in his last fight against one Ricky Glenn. I even like the Latifi, and like anything can happen in that Latifi fight. So we'll see. But I think the most likely would be like the Costa fight. Dern, Costa, parlay. I personally would not parlay either, but if I had to say, I'd say it hits. Thank you, Mushroom. Looking forward to seeing what you have for lunch tomorrow, Mushroom, with some of the best meals you can ever find. Check Mushroom out on Twitter. It's awesome. 3 fighters you're really confident in. Sadiq, obviously, Randy Brown, and then I'll say Barcelos, and then even like I have some confidence in Dern as well. But mostly Randy Brown I like a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. I'll be going live tomorrow for Best Bet, so make sure you guys tune into that. You can check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. If you have any questions, hit me up there. My DMs are always open. And yeah, guys, best of luck. UFC Vegas 61. Enjoy the card. We have a week off next week, and then we come back to, I believe, 6 straight weeks after that, and 6 really good cards coming up, especially that UFC 280 October 22nd. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out. Like and subscribe. Best of luck for UFC Vegas 61.